Okay. All right.
Well,
we're ready. Welcome.
Okay, good.
Morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. We are here on the corner of Trumbull and Michigan Avenue at the Exchange. Adolph is.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. And we have the famous.
You remember my name?
Allan Lengel this morning. If you are watching the show this morning, listen, this is what we want you to do. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Detroit in Black and White. You can catch us on all platforms. Facebook Live, X, Instagram. We also have a page, DetroitInBlackandWhite.com. So you can watch all of our previous episodes. Look, we want you to spread the word about Detroit in Black and White. Like, subscribe, and share.
All right.
Oh, I forgot
And
to
we've
tell you
got.
what I am.
That's right. Let's give it up.
I'm Vanessa Moss. I am running for judge for 36th District Court. Seriously, I am a candidate for judge for 36th District Court, and I would ask that you guys support me. The primary is August the 6th, 2024. The absentee ballots go out June the 27th. 2 seats, check one box, circle it in, Vanessa Moss. Thank you.
All right. And so today we have a guest. We've got two guests today.
Right.
We've got Jason Roe, who's a Republican consultant, kind of a muckety-muck in the party, who's will give us sort of the lowdown on how the Republicans may fare this November, and what's going on with the race and how the trial in New York, how it's impacting Trump's numbers, if at all. And then we have somebody. We
also have Terry Johnson, who's a Republican. He's a lawyer. He sat on, I don't know if he's still sitting on the Farmington Hills School Board, but he's been a guest here on Detroit in Black and White previously.
Right,
so we're gonna have him weigh in. He was a Trump supporter. I don't think he is now, but he'll be able to speak to that. But he's definitely not a Biden supporter. So.
And I think Jason as well is not a Trump supporter, although
Right.
a Republican. So I feel like we're MSNBC, where we're getting the soft Republicans who
But,
are.
You know what? Are they soft Republicans? I think that they're probably reflective of a whole lot of people here in the United States.
Right.
People are not happy with either candidate. That's the reality.
Right.
So there are people who get an attitude when people say, "Well, I don't like President Biden," but the reality is a lot of people don't like both of them.
That's true. I mean, people aren't happy. I think in both parties, people are. I mean, Democrats. I mean, with Joe Biden, I think it really is. People are concerned about his age. When you see him shuffling, people like Jon Stewart have criticized him for running again. But the choices are
how much of an age difference is it between he and the other guy? It's not that much of an age difference. And people who watch the show, people who watch the show, I really do have a problem where we as a society do not honor wisdom. Age is now a problem. I thank God for getting to the position I am today.
But when you got a 81-year-old president, when you got somebody's 80 years old and under the stress of being in office, you look at it. When Obama got elected, he was a young 40-something guy, and when he left office, he looked like he had aged 20 years. So people are concerned about both of them being too old. This is what we got. This is what we got to deal with. There's no question about it. We need to stop talking about it and just accept the fact that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee for the Democrats and Donald Trump is going to be the nominee for the Republicans. So
I agree with you.
So it's that.
So are we doing an outrage? Adolph, you want to start off with your outrage since you removed?
Yeah, my outrage is that Donald Trump think people was born yesterday saying that Barron Trump is a political guru, and he threw his son under not a bus but a train, and he was gonna make him a delegate to the convention. But his mother, his mother was correct in saying she don't want any part of that shit, you know. But to say that Barron Trump is a political guru who he relies on his opinions on politics. I've never heard the young man say one word. Can he speak? Can he talk?
I hate to laugh.
He can speak Slovenian and English.
I don't want to talk, but I know that there were a lot of concerns before saying that maybe he had some.
Oh, he was a little bit on the spectrum.
He was on the spectrum. And maybe, I'm just putting it out here, maybe Dad was doing that to make him feel, and I hate to use this word normal. Maybe that's why he did it. I don't know.
Well, look, he
put a target. He put a target on that young man's back. They was going to eat him alive.
Right. I agree with you.
I think, look, he's gone to very privileged schools. I think some of those schools provide great education.
Right.
He's probably a smart guy. Look, just because if somebody's on the spectrum, we know a lot of people who are kind of on the spectrum who are extremely bright.
You're right?
Yeah, I wish. Maybe I'd be brighter if I was, but they're extremely bright. They're functional. They may have a little bit of social awkwardness or whatever, but a lot of people have social awkwardness. So, but I was going to read you a quote from Jerry Garcia, who said, "Constantly choosing the lesser of two evils is still choosing evil." And I know we're in an election often where we talk about choosing the lesser of two evils, and it's a good point, but that's the reality of it. That's our choices.
But Biden is not evil. Biden is not evil. Donald Trump is evil.
Right, I agree.
But let me say this. The reality is, ever since I've been on Earth, and ever since I've been a voter, which is the age of 18, every political season we hear the same thing. This side is evil, that side is evil. That's nothing new. I mean, everybody says the same thing. I
mean, look, every year we have candidates, a lot of times, it's hard to get excited about. I was excited in 2008 when Obama ran. We had 8 years of George W. Bush. I remember I was, look, we've had so many choices where it's been like ho-hum or whatever. But, look, Biden's very competent. I don't think you're going to find a smarter strategist to operate on the Hill. He knows how to work the Hill.
You know what, though? I'm not going to advocate for either one. They have not put any money in this community for people to advocate for them. So I'm not advocating for either one of them. I'm saying Vanessa Moss. I'm not advocating for either one of them. But as far as being competent,
yes,
I do think that he is competent.
But I think when people make statements like that, and when they say, well, he hasn't done anything, we haven't seen any money or whatever, I think that's a very broad sweeping statement that I think we have to. No, Allan.
They spend millions of dollars. They got millions and millions of dollars, and they don't put them in the community when they come into Detroit. They don't. Democrats haven't utilized black printers, Detroit-based consultants, etc. They do one or two. And they disappear, and they raise $1 billion for a campaign. And how much money do they put back into to their base? This is their base.
listen, we'll go to your outrage next. But to your comment, that's what I was going to say. Is when I say that I'm not advocating for either one. Is that listen? We sit on this platform, we talk about both of them, and you're an advocate for Biden, and I'm like, listen, I'm not getting paid to carry his bucket.
I'm not an advocate for him necessarily.
Well,
I mean,
not
look,
necessarily,
the
but
choice. Well, look, the choice between him
fact,
and.
In fact,
Well,
but if the campaign was smart, you have the largest Middle East population outside of the Middle East, right here in Dearborn. Why don't you have people down there in Dearborn gathering their support? Why?
They have 10 people out there. But okay. You know what?
And then in this community, where?
Look, they have sent people to talk to the community. I mean, it's been a rough go. I mean, look, Biden's been stuck in this. We
talk about the DNC spending money. We're talking about advertising. We're talking about getting the message. We're talking about those kind of things. If that was true, he wouldn't have had the problem a few months ago. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Okay. I'm just saying. Look, the administration has tried to, deal with the Arab community and the Jewish community here over the war. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, I'll say the difference between what Trump, if Trump comes in office, Trump is going to give carte blanche if Netanyahu's still there or whoever's there. Like, go ahead and I feel like that. I feel like Biden has tried to be a broker for peace, a true broker for peace, and people, Trump, and here, which leads me to my outrage, is that Trump says, well, if you're Jewish, if you're voting for Biden, you're a traitor to your, religion or whatever, which is just total, just more nonsense. I guess, I'm tired of seeing like the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Donald Trumps, just talking shit all the time without any basis.
That's how you get clicks and views and votes.
Yeah, I guess, but it's I guess what it is. It's just not very intelligent conversation. Mm-hmm. It's very clickbaitish. It's very inflammatory, and it doesn't. Well,
it works.
Where you should tell some of your former colleagues, Allan, to stop covering those assholes. They made Marjorie Taylor Greene an important political figure coming out of Georgia, and she's a piece of garbage. She's an idiot, and it come back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a rogue dog now out there biting everybody, and it's sad. But
so you saw what she did earlier in the week. And
it was
like, ooh.
Right. She's trying to displace. I mean,
did you see her facial expression?
Yeah,
she looks so upset.
And Kevin McCarthy comes out and says, "Who the Democrats saved Kevin McCarthy once by continuing the government, which he needed their vote, and now he says, oh my God." I couldn't live with myself if I was Speaker Johnson, because he's had to rely on Democrats. Well, the Speaker is getting some things done in Congress, and they don't want anything done. Particularly when you have. I mean, look, when Obama was elected, I think somewhere around 2009, I remember reading a story in the Wall Street Journal where Mitch McConnell was saying, we're going to do everything we can to make sure he doesn't accomplish anything. It's like,
they did.
They did it.
If I had a business and I opened an ice cream shop and my employees say, I'm going to do everything to fuck over Allan Lengel, make sure we don't sell any ice cream. Yeah, you'd be like, we're going to get some new employees, and that's what needs to happen.
You may not be able to because they've already set your business.
Right.
Well, go ahead, Vanessa.
So my outrage is found an article about a former U.S. Border Patrol agent. He was sentenced to 1.5 years for offering migrant immigration papers for $5,000. So
and where was
this is in El Paso. Okay. And so here you are, sworn officer, you're supposed to do your job. And Texas is where we have this big old argument about the borders and how they're coming over. And then you have, he can't be the only one. You have the Border Patrol agents asking people for $5,000 and giving them fake documents. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Are you kidding me? You know, listen, he didn't think of that on his own. You know, doggone well, there are more people that are.
They've been doing it for a long time. There's no question about it. That is a fucking outrage.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think part of that is you have to make sure, not that it's going to stop. Greed is greed, but you have to make sure that those agents are at least making a living wage to make sure that they don't have to find alternative ways. Look, the cartels are out there all the time looking for people to work with so they can pass through the border and all that.
And that's why all the drugs are coming through here, because people are on the take. I've always been on the take. We need to take a break and come back and continue the conversation, Detroit in black and white.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
I want to acknowledge it is Vanessa's birthday.
Weekend. It was yesterday.
Wow. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy 30th.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
For your birthday present.
Jim has decided to sit at the table with us. He has an outrage that I think is hilarious.
I want to know.
Nardoni, former police chief in Trenton, one of my favorite cities.
You've never.
I don't think you ever been to Trenton.
I know, I'm kidding.
It's right down the street.
I was waiting for a
What are you
response.
scared
I was in Wyandotte a couple of weeks ago. I'm getting there.
Did you see the Northern Lights in Midtown last night, or was that just the lights of Broadway? Is that,
Yeah.
The Fisher lights.
I'm working my way to Trenton, you know.
Okay.
What's your outrage, Jim?
I don't know if it's an outrage. I'd like to know how come the black community is beating up on Brian McKnight just because he got a white wife. Is that the problem?
No, that is not.
What is the issue
Listen.
here?
Who's Brian McKnight?
Oh, he's an R&B singer. This
Okay.
guy is full of controversy.
So who?
This latest controversy is this. He got on social media. He talked about the children that he had with his previous wife. He's disowned them. Thank you, Ira. He's disowned them. He said that they were born out of evil and sin.
Yes, he did.
Evil and sin. Okay. And he changed one of his sons is named after him. He changed his name so that son's name wouldn't be like his, and he adopted his now wife's name.
Oh.
And he loves, and I think when you have bonus children, I think it's a wonderful thing. I think bonus children are nice, but I don't know how you can love bonus kids and not love your own. I don't understand how you can disown your own children.
I agree.
And so he had a concert scheduled here, and they went crazy on him on social media, and so they had to cancel the canceled. That's what
I never heard of him, so I don't care.
He's spectacular.
I don't care. I couldn't name a song that he sang, so
Yes.
Why are you concerned, Jim? Jim, why are you concerned about him?
I'm concerned with why we're dividing people instead of uniting people. Isn't that?
He called his evil. Evil and born
They're
again.
bringing him out of town.
It's like, I don't want him.
They're bringing him out of town. He can't even
I
come to
don't think
Detroit anymore.
it's not a matter of he married this woman and he's a
Well, Brian McKnight sound like he part of the Crumley family.
He's an entertainer. What do we expect from our entertainers? I guess we expect they're not regular people.
You know what? I think we should have a unity conference in Trenton.
Right.
We all get together in Trenton, and
I'd say leave Brian McKnight alone. When I worked at Fox Theater for a very short time, and he rode a motorcycle on stage. When he came out on stage, it was pretty exciting. So I thought his music was he's a that does rock and roll. He's a really interesting musician.
He is a guy who years ago the community, was really mad at him because he says that he doesn't vote. And for Black folks, that's a problem, especially someone a high profile character. That's a problem. That is a real problem.
That he doesn't vote.
That's what he said years ago. I don't know what he.
Well, but he just along with the other 85% of the people that's in Detroit that don't vote. Because we only get about 15% of the people to vote. So I don't know how they get mad at him because they don't vote.
Well, they did. They got mad at him. But he does one thing after another. So he's canceled. So
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
About the shooting in Florida with the deputy and the Kenneth is asking, good morning, Kenneth, about the shooting. It's an outrage. It's a deputy killed a young airman.
The guy that was in the service.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They went to the wrong apartment, and he came and they kicked the door in, and the guy that's a part of the Air Force, he wanted an elite unit. He had a gun, and and he had the right to carry it, and they shot him down like a dog. And then told him don't move after they pumped 6 bullets in him, talking about don't move, and handcuffed him, a dead person. Unbelievable.
Now, that is an outrage.
But as a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, if we're going to have I'm going to go the other way a little bit. We're going to normalize firearms. When someone shows up at their door with a firearm, we should not be shot.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you, what if in your, in Trenton, let's say you knock on the door and somebody comes, you're yelling, open the door, police, and they come to the door holding a gun, but they're not pointing it at you. What is the procedure at that point? What do you do?
Well, he's still a threat, obviously, right? All he has to do is raise that firearm and pull the trigger. But this kid didn't know. He answered his door with a firearm in Florida, where we've normalized firearms, all right?
Right.
Strong supporter of the Second Amendment. He has a right to answer the door with a firearm.
Right.
He probably should have set it down before he went. There's a series of mistakes that happened. But that officer started pulling the trigger before he even knew what was going on. He didn't even give the kid an opportunity to lay down to drop the firearm.
Right.
He didn't make. So there's a process where you have to go through when you come across something like that. And sometimes it's 0 to 100, but you see the guy standing there with a firearm that's pointed at the ground. That officer should have immediately said, drop that firearm.
Right.
And then decide what his reaction should have been. It's very sad.
Right.
And do we have is Jason here?
Yeah, Jason is here.
Okay, maybe we bring them both.
Bring Jason now. Yeah.
Jason and Terry is here, so they
Yeah.
can sit.
All right.
They can
Yeah,
sit
maybe
on both sides.
maybe they can sit here and here. We could have
Come on in.
both of you come on. Hey, you want to make sure we can squeeze you in?
Yeah, I
here?
could get for it.
Yeah.
Jackson, what you drinking this morning?
Bloody Mary. See that Bloody
Oh wow, good for you.
Here? No, right here.
I've
Right
never
here.
had it in my life.
You need
I don't even
to
know what it is.
Sherry. Yeah.
tomato juice and
You wanna
seasoning.
Move in. Let's
It
move in.
sounds disgusting. It sounds disgusting.
All right, here we go. All right,
We got you.
let's do a little introductions here.
Thank you.
We've got, first of all, let's go with Jason Roe. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Grew up in Lansing, and
Oh, it's so sad.
yeah, I know. I fled to California, then DC, and I've gone for about 25 years. Moved back to Michigan,
Okay.
out in Oakland County about 4 years ago. Love being back.
And you've been involved in the Republican Party, and what? Tell us your involvement.
Yeah, so I've, my entire life, beginning in college, been a precinct delegate to the Michigan Republican Party in Kalamazoo County, Ingham County, and Oakland County over my lifetime. Done a lot of campaigns throughout the country. Was
Okay.
Marco Rubio's national spokesman when he ran for president in
Oh, wow.
2016.
How was that?
It was fun. Going on TV
Little Marco.
8 times a day to respond to Donald Trump's tweets was
Oh,
not
wow.
what I thought I was signing up for.
Right.
I
And so
was-
you actually responded?
Well, every interview I did had nothing to do with Marco Rubio. It was me responding to what
Talking
Trump
about-
said
Wow.
that day or tweeted that day.
Wow.
So, it was about a 2-month campaign for me.
Wow.
But that's all I got.
So, Jason, so why is Rubio in love with Donald Trump now? Donald Trump used to trash him, just like he trashed Ted Cruz.
I have a little more pride than those men.
Don't fall into his bait.
No, I'm actually with them.
Hey, Adolph.
I was embarrassed when Marco got on his knees for him several years ago. When he dropped out of the presidential and then he decided to run for Senate, he immediately turned around and genuflected to Trump.
Right. And now
If I got treated like that by somebody, I'm not genuflecting to anybody.
And I read that he's really, when they had a gathering of all these potential VP candidates, he was being very aggressive about getting out there and trying to insert himself as a.
Yeah, I think he's actively pursuing it. I do think there's a constitutional question because you can't have a president and a vice president in the same state. So I actually think Doug Burgum's probably the leading choice right now. One, he's a billionaire, and Trump needs a few shekels to help pay these legal bills. In addition to fundraising, I think the combined resources of the Biden campaign right now are about 132 million, and the Trump campaign is 66 million.
Right.
And that's not accounting for what money might go to future legal bills.
Right.
We're only in the first trial. We got 3 more potentially that he's going to have to.
Yeah,
Let's introduce this man.
Go anytime soon. Yeah.
Hi, Terry Johnson. Glad to be here. Attorney, primarily criminal, but I do quite a bit of other things. I'm actually got a couple lawsuits in against the wonderful city of Flint for some of the corruption and things that they're doing up there. Second Amendment supporter and firearms attorney.
Right.
And do you do state and federal or just primarily? Both?
State, federal, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Let's see, born and raised here in the metro area. And good friend of Adolph out there who's going to just trash me today.
No, he's not.
I'm not gonna trash you, Terry. I'm not gonna trash. Hey, thanks for coming.
He's already started off bad wearing that ugly hat.
Okay, you got your Spartan gear on.
The Lansing brothers are here. That's right.
Well, let's ask about the Trump in Michigan. What impact? I mean, obviously he's had an impact in 18, 20, 22, and it hasn't been necessarily a good one. Are his fortunes going to change here?
I think his fortunes are good. I mean, let's think about this. Jason was talking a minute ago, and he said something that was very interesting. He said most of his day was not when he was the spokesperson for Mr. Rubio. Most of his day was not talking about Rubio, was talking about Trump. Trump has done an outstanding job of making the focus about him.
Absolutely.
And I said this a few years ago. I was on one of the local TV stations. I said the thing is, as long as you keep talking about him, that's what he wants. If you want to stop this, stop talking about him. But, again, the Democrats right now have all these trials. And who's getting the publicity? Trump. Every time you turn around.
All day long.
All day long.
All day long.
And we know he occupies the space in your head.
Well, yeah.
I see it right back here on this.
Rent free.
Rent free. Every day, all day.
And Jason, what's your
Well, I think, one, there's been about a dozen polls this calendar year for Michigan, and 2/3 of them Trump has a lead. And probably the other third, he's probably tied. This was never the case in 2020. This was never the case in 2016. So I think you have to take that into consideration. And Trump voters are notoriously hard to poll because they don't always want to say. So they are usually underrepresented. So I think that might represent a floor, not a ceiling. But I think the fractures in the Democratic coalition as it relates to Biden, in Michigan in particular, are almost insurmountable. I think, there's about 350,000 Arab voters, or Arabs in the state, about 100,000 voters. Republicans were making inroads over some of the cultural issues in the past election, but with October 7th, listen, we're the stalwart pro-Israel party. Democrats now have a pretty big cleave. And so 100,000 votes that probably 80% of them were going Democrat in the past are gone for them. Again, I don't think we
Good.
pick them up, but I think they stand down. They vote for a Kennedy
Or
or
Kennedy,
Cornel
right.
West
And
or somebody
that's
else.
If-
And then in the black community, there are more openings for Republicans in the black community than I've seen in my lifetime,
Why?
particularly with black men. I think part of the dissatisfaction with the current state of the economy. I think a lot of the stuff that Biden promised when he ran are not things that the black community necessarily feels he's delivered on. And I don't,
But
go ahead. You know,
well, I don't think we can be dissatisfied with what the Democratic Party has delivered to the black community, but I don't think black people are dumb enough to drink the poison of the Republican candidate right now.
Let me say this. First of all, you say black people dumb enough. We're not dumb. One,
I say we're not dumb enough to drink that poison.
Let me say this, sir. I was in the store the other day shopping. Black woman. She and I talking. We talked because I'm running for judge, 36th District Court. She
And you
said,
have my
"Listen,
support, by the way.
I know you need to send me some money."
Wow,
So,
soliciting money on the air.
There you go. Takes money to run a campaign.
Absolutely. So she and I engaged in a conversation. She's a Detroiter. I asked her asked her to support me. She said she would, and then she went into this conversation about how there is no way in HEW hockey sticks she would ever vote for Joe Biden. And she said her family members feel the same way. Now she lives Dexter. I didn't even buy. I'm running for judge. I didn't want to get into the conversation about Dem or Republicans. And if you notice our conversation, I was trying to keep it in the middle. You understand, right?
Right.
So
it's a winning strategy.
Okay, exactly.
Not in Detroit.
Yeah, but the judges are nonpartisan, so
Exactly.
They are nonpartisan, but
But they are partisan.
If you show bias towards
but
Democrats,
you can't vote
You
for
asked me a
Republican
question.
right?
agenda.
But
Can
if
I answer the question?
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The question is, I didn't discuss with her what my political leanings were at all. I let her talk to me about what she was going to do and what she's not going to do. What's interesting is not only does she live in Detroit, but she lives in the Dexter Elmhurst area with the rest of her family. So I do think that there is people in the Black community that say that they're not going to vote.
Of course, they are, and there's people in the Arab community that's going to vote Republican. There's people that are always going to vote for the others. But we're going to continue this conversation after we take a break and come back and talk about if the Democrats really in trouble in Michigan. Is that going to just trickle down to all their candidates?
Right. Also,
They
the
are.
economy is a Republican kind of narrative that the economy is horrible when, in fact, the economy is not. But anyways,
No, I love paying Joe Biden gas prices.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right, we are back, and I was saying that I think the Republican narrative has been, look, the economy. A lot of the numbers are pretty good. The inflation is still too high, but You know, it wasn't like, I mean, look, when Biden took over, he was handed
No.
a supply shortage, a worker shortage.
No.
Yes, when
Stop.
you come to
Stop.
wait,
Stop.
hold on.
Stop
Let
the
me
lies.
just finish. Let me finish, and then I'll let you say. When you go to White Castle and suddenly see $15 an hour, things have changed in this world, and we're paying for it.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
$15 an hour is not.
It's not a lot of money.
Wait a minute. Let's tell the
Nor
truth
is a
here.
career at White Castle.
Let's
It's supposed
tell-
to be a career.
Yes, and let's tell the truth here. Everything was going well with this economy till COVID hit. Period. Okay, and yes, there was a supply chain shortage. But remember, when Donald Trump left office, gas was about $2 a gallon. And
Yeah.
what's the first thing?
It wasn't $2.
Yeah, it was $2. It was about $2.19 a gallon. Go back and look at what Joe Biden did. His first in-stroke was to stop drilling. Why? And what did that do? That caused inflation to go up. And now to say that we are in this situation because he was handed something, he caused it.
You know
Look at
what?
the borders.
Well, hold on a minute. When you talk about I'm sorry, I won't reach over.
All right,
Uh,
thank you.
When we're talking about drilling, you think suddenly like that drilling, you know, drilling is exploration. You think like that takes years. You think that is an instant thing where suddenly it's like in a year it's suddenly
Yes, it is. You know why? Because if you look at what happened with all of these things, why do you think the gas prices went up? I mean, seriously, when you have it's like saying, I got all these vegetables in my backyard, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, but you know what? I'm not going to use them. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to buy them there. And then I complain that the prices are too high. And I start supporting my local grocery store. That's what we're doing as opposed to doing.
Well, and I want to go back to what
Go
you
ahead.
said. Listen, no matter what administration, no matter what economy, you can go cherry pick a couple data points that support your, view of the economy.
Absolutely.
But voters don't feel the things that the elites are saying. Oh, it's great. Doesn't it feel great? Because it doesn't feel great.
Right.
Because gas prices are higher, groceries are higher, home energy prices are higher. Everything that we touch in our lives, it's almost not even stunning
No
anymore.
question.
Everything I have to pay for
Right.
as
Have
a
to.
monthly bill.
Right.
Every
Yes.
single one of them is
Absolutely.
up, and every month it goes up. I'm going to have my annual renewal for my home insurance, my auto insurance. It went up 15% last month or last year. And my friends are telling me that they just saw another big spike. It's insane. And I will say, I moved back to Michigan in the summer of 2020. I paid at the Costco $1.75 for a gallon of gas. And that
But you
seems
know,
like something I did in the 90s.
I'll tell you also with climate change, what we're seeing also is insurance. You can't get insurance in Florida now. And if you ask people who own insurance companies, they'll tell you climate change is real. And if you get insurance, so insurance for everything is up now.
What
So
does that have to do with Michigan?
Well, I'm sorry,
but Jason and Terry, do you really think Trump is, if he gets back in office, that things are going to get much better than what they are now?
Can't get worse, Adolph. They cannot get worse.
And
We have
yes,
had 3.5 years of chronic inflation, chronic high gas prices, chronic increases in prices.
All based on
Everything
Biden's
people need.
decisions. All based on
no,
Biden's
that's
decisions.
bullshit. That's
So-
bullshit.
No,
Oh, the spending.
So
I mean,
listen,
come on.
I'm the mom.
letting the border open.
Listen, viewers, we are enjoying this conversation, but guess what? We can tell who's gonna vote for who. We can
You
tell by
don't
the.
know who I'm voting for.
We can tell.
Who are you going to vote for?
You don't want to tell.
I know I'm not voting for Biden. That's
Bingo.
As far as
You can
how
mark me
about
down
Trump?
right
Do you
there.
support Trump?
I have voted libertarian in the past.
Okay.
And you?
Listen,
Right now, the only one right now, based upon the several that are out there, the only candidate I see right now is Trump. Unless you give me an alternative, is the only.
Well,
candidate- unless you give me an
listen,
alternative.
Well, an alternative is the guy that ate a dead worm. It seemed like Trump ate that worm too. Both of them brains is being eaten
Hey, wait a minute.
by some insects.
Adolph, you actually want to sit here and tell me when we start talking about brains that you're going to compare Joe Biden and this? Hold on, let me do the Joe Biden impersonation.
You know what? When you talk about that, I'll tell you, Joe Biden, I put my money on Joe Biden as an intellect. against Donald Trump.
That's right.
He isn't smart,
10
but
years
he's
ago, maybe.
but he's ADD. He can't focus. He can't read. He can't consume. That's
know
why
what?
he makes up so much
You know,
stuff.
here's the problem.
His-
Look at
he
you
doesn't speak.
You know what you have this
factually.
year? You know what you have this year?
Yeah.
You have from 2016 to 2020. You have from 2020 to 2024. You have the Biden presidency and the Trump presidency. You get to vote on which one was better. So when we are talking all of these things, we can look and say, I'm better off. And that's the question you're going to hear. Were you better off 4 years ago than you were today? And you have a
And
comparison.
what
now.
about democracy? What about the idea of the Justice Department being independent? Do you really
I would
feel?
love that, but I've not seen it.
I haven't
Well,
either.
I've seen it a lot.
I'm no Trump fan, but I got to say, this has been out of control.
It's what's
Crazy.
out of control.
Listen, the Alvin Bragg indictment. Now, that's not the U.S. Department of Justice. In fact, if there was merit to what's going on in New York courtrooms right now, it would have been the U.S. Department of Justice that would have pursued it because it's
Who turned it
federal
down?
campaign finance
Who
law.
turned it down?
Not only did they turn it down, but Alvin Bragg turned it down when he first got into office. And then when he got into political trouble, all of a sudden he dusted this indictment off and rolled it out. Of the four, this is the weakest and stupidest of the bunch.
But listen,
And where Alvin Bragg undermined the entire, legal attack, the lawfare on Trump, is when there was actually meritorious indictments.
Well, we all know Trump is a criminal. You know that, Jason. You know Trump is a
That's not
criminal.
what I'm
What's he
talking
been
about.
convicted of?
no.
But if Alvin Bragg hadn't issued such a weak indictment here, there would have been more credibility on the FBI raid and the top
Yes.
secret
Right.
documents. But because this one was so
Exactly.
flimsy and political, that undermined everything that happened
But
after.
there's total credibility in the raid. How many for a year they tried to get the documents back? They said,
But no one
just turn
believed
it-
it because of
just-
Alvin Bragg.
Well, okay.
Listen, here, let's say that's the case.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go down. What about all the other? You're talking about a president who's out of office. And let's say this. If Trump would have done 8 years, we wouldn't see any of these things. This is only being done. And unfortunately, this is election interference. I don't care how you cut it.
let me say this.
I wouldn't go
Merrick-
that far to say
Merrick-
that it's election interference, but and I will say this: I do agree. This looks politically motivated to the voting public. That's what we hear. That's what I hear.
This case
People
may be in New
all
York.
the time. People, but see, because of this case,
The rest of it.
the rest of them
Well,
are staying. I'm
Alvin
sorry.
Bragg, Alvin
the rest
Bragg
of them are
taints it.
staying. And you
Look
can
at
sit here
Georgia.
and say, well, but that is the honest to goodness truth.
look at we have a president who tried to overthrow the government.
The government, no question.
What did he,
Yeah,
he said there,
listen,
what did he do?
listen.
What you do?
Go to the go to the Senate, to Congress, and peacefully protest. All of you want to cut that
There's
part
nothing
up.
peaceful about
Fake
that, man.
electorate.
He didn't say
Hey, Terry, wait a minute.
Trump is
Wait a minute.
Trump is the
No, he ain't. Trump, Terry, stop with the bullshit, Terry, because we know that they stormed the Capitol to kill people. That's what they wanted to do.
Did he tell them to go do that? No.
Yes, he sure did.
No,
Yes, he did.
not.
Yes, he
Because
did.
everybody
Yes, he did.
the part where he said, "Go and peacefully protest." He didn't say.
Listen, these people attack police officers. They stormed the Capitol.
Black Lives Matter. What about that? Who attacked police officers?
Wait a minute.
Oh, the Black Lives Matter didn't do it. We didn't try to overthrow the government.
What happened in Portland in the federal courthouse over there that they did? Don't.
But that wasn't Black Lives Matter. Listen.
Yes.
You had neo-Nazis, Confederate sympathizers running through the Capitol with Confederate flags, saying down with the government. They wanted to kill Nancy Pelosi. They wanted to kill any and everybody that was elected.
And all of those people, Donald Trump said, "Y'all go and do this."
And he was
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Attorney General to try to stop
But he
states from
didn't.
confirming. No, because
He didn't.
because the staff on the Attorney General staff threatened to quit, and
Okay,
it would have been
but
a total
here-
scandal.
but
He
here's
was conspiring. We have had We have
What
never
about the
seen
border?
this.
What about Hillary
Okay,
Clinton?
let me finish.
You're right. We
Oh, come
haven't
on,
seen
Hillary
any of. We haven't seen any. All we are seeing is one
Let me say
side
this.
again and
Let me
again.
say this here.
Just
Now,
call it what it
It was
is.
a
Let me say this
conspiracy
here.
to overthrow.
Go ahead, Vanessa. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I'm saying to you, as your sister, I find it extremely offensive. Extremely offensive that you would talk about Black Lives Matter.
Which is, for
When-
the most part, a
Wait
joke.
minute.
And
wait a
I'm
minute.
saying that right now.
That's why people don't like
You know
you.
what? Where did the money go?
That's why
Where
people
did
don't
the
like
money
you.
for Black Lives Matter
And
go?
where does the money go?
No, we're talking. That was a
Listen.
scam.
That's
You have
why
three
That's
people.
why people don't.
No.
Wait a minute. We're gonna take
Where
a
did the
break.
money
We're gonna come
Where
back.
did the
We
money
all
go?
know where Trump money goes. It goes to his pocket.
We're
But
talking Black Lives Matter.
but we're gonna come back. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break. Terry, we're gonna take a break and come back. Go get a drink at the bar, and we'll come back and continue.
Put it on your tab.
Put it on my tab. Put it on my tab. Let's take a break, Allan.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay,
Listen.
we're back. Go ahead, Adolph. We're back.
I wanted to ask Terry. Terry, what did you think of Barron Trump being named a delegate to the convention out of Florida?
They have a right to get whoever they want for delegates or whatever. I mean, I can't. Is he 18? Does he meet the requirements? It is what it is. I mean, there's partisanship on every side. And I don't know if it's honorary or whatever, but if he meets the requirements, he meets the requirements. It is what it is. I mean,
But then he becomes a target of folks that saying leave him out of the political arena, and now he's in the political arena, so he becomes a target. Am I correct?
if he is now 18, he's an adult, and he jumps into that absolutely. Just like when the Obama girls were in the White House, people should not be going after them. But if they were to jump into politics, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Right. And or
Absolutely.
or Clinton's daughter or whatever. But I have one thing I wanted to say in the heat of all this was one of the reasons I think Merrick Garland came in with the idea like, okay, we're going to be balanced. We're going to calm down the Justice Department here. We're not, and he did not want to indict. He didn't want to indict Trump. Okay. But when the January 6th committee happened with a bipartisan, whether you don't think it's bipartisan or not,
It's not.
They
It's
had
not
two
bipartisan.
solid Republicans who
No.
just happened weren't MAGAs. And
No, they had.
when all that evidence,
I'm
when
with
all that incriminating evidence came out, I think Merrick Garland had no choice
So
but to
let's
pursue
let's
criminal
talk
and
about that.
appointed special prosecutors.
Let's talk about that. First of all, Merrick Garland has an axe to grind because Merrick Garland was turned down for Supreme Court as a result of Republicans. But secondly, let's talk. It's true. He was turned down.
He was turned down, but I don't think
let's-
he's acted nothing but professionally.
But let's talk about the other portion of this. You said the January 6th committee. The Republicans normally have an opportunity to appoint certain people to committees. They had no choice in this one. This was all Democrats. And you had two people that the Democrats appointed. Republicans had no choice. They couldn't bring in witnesses. They couldn't.
To the victors goes the spoils. To the victor goes the spoils. That's the way the game is played.
I agree with that, but you don't stop the process from being fair. You get the majority. You get a 11 to 10 majority or whatever it is, but you don't say we're going to put everybody on this committee and we're the only ones that are going to bring witnesses. You can't do X, Y, and Z. Because again, at the end of the day, what you're leaving out is Trump called the mayor of Washington, D.C. and Pelosi and said, you people need to bring some National Guards in, and both of them turned him down.
Well, he's still up for grabs there on that. I'm still not clear on that.
You won't be. I'm not the only partisan here.
Somebody agrees with you, says Terry.
There's a lot of people that agree with him. I don't.
But you're still my friend.
I don't agree with him ever.
I have a question for Jason. So let me ask you. We've seen, normally an incumbent when Obama was running for re-election, his numbers were not very good. For a while, he was behind Mitt Romney, I think, in the state of Michigan, and he ended up really doing very well in Michigan. Obama. What do you make? I mean, we're a little over 5 months out. What can happen? What if the war in Israel comes to a conclusion in the next month or so? Will that change things?
Well, if it comes to a conclusion, that means Israel prevailed. And so I don't think it's going to help Biden because, again, we're talking about 100,000 Arab votes on the table, probably 80-20 historically breaking towards Democrats. Those are gone. We didn't talk about college campuses and young people. That's another space. I mean, there have been a couple polls nationally and in Michigan that show Trump shockingly leading amongst younger voters, which, I mean, even being down 10 with younger voters, kind of my jaw hits the floor, but Trump has actually been leading with it. And that's a confluence of things, I think. But I don't think a resolution to what's happening in Gaza in any way benefits Biden. I think he's in a pickle based on the politics of the Democratic Party.
So Jason, you think Alyssa Slotkin in trouble then? If she gets the nomination, if she become the nominee for the U.S. Senate on the Democratic side, could she lose?
I think she's going to be tough to beat. For a lot of reasons. I mean, in Michigan, out of the last 50 years, there have been 19 U.S. Senate campaigns, and Republicans have won one. Spence Abraham in 1994. For whatever reason, we just don't elect Republican U.S. senators in the
purple state for presidential politics, but we are a blue state for state politics.
And we were a red state for state level politics, but at the federal level, we have tended to break towards Democrats. And it's going to be fundraising. I mean, Slotkin has always benefited from being an extraordinary fundraiser. And I think Mike Rogers is running a very good campaign, but he's not going to be able to keep pace with her spending. And Republicans only need 2 U.S. Senate seats. And I would say there are 8 that I think are legitimately competitive in the country, pick up opportunities. And I think right now, Mike Rogers is sitting in about the 6th or 7th spot. And get up in that top 5 where Mitch McConnell and the National Republican Senatorial Committee and Steve Daines and the Senate Leadership Fund, they're not going to spend to go get 10 seats. They're going to spend to get 5. And so Mike Rogers has got a battle to get in that top 5 to get their money.
And why is Sandy Kessler running again? He's sort of a perennial loser there. I can't imagine. He must be using his own money.
Yes. I mean, I think the last report showed that he had raised $2,200 and put in a couple million of his own.
Right.
At this point, it just looks like a vanity play. I mean, I think he spent $3 or $4 million when he ran for Senate in 2018. He lost.
Have you seen his ads against Mike Rogers? Is that effective?
Well, first of all, most people I talked to didn't know what the ads were about. And until you read the Rogers response, you didn't have any context to what the line of attack was. It's a pretty dated attack.
Right.
And the idea that Mike Rogers, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, is somehow pro-terrorist, this doesn't, I think, hold water.
Well, I have a question for Terry. Terry, Mitch McConnell, we all know Mitch McConnell got dementia or something. see what the Republicans did in Kentucky with a Democratic governor. They said if Mitch McConnell stepped down, that the Democratic governor has to appoint a Republican. Now, that ain't fair. The governor should be able to appoint whoever he wants to. Am I correct?
Just like you said, the spoil.
Victor go the spoils.
Exactly. I agree
Right.
with you.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you. But again, you know, at the end of the day, it's getting away from that. And, you know, whoever the governor wants to appoint, the governor should be able to appoint from their state. That's part of their duty.
Well, let me ask you guys, what are your predictions for Michigan in terms of the percentage wise, what it's going to end up here in Michigan, Trump versus Biden?
Right now, it's very early. There are too many things. Polls always tighten near the end. Do I think it's going to be close? What are we defining close? I think it's probably going to be 3 points or more for Trump. Now, again, I'm saying that with things can change. We don't know who his vice president is going to be. Is that going to, you know, rise or is it going to lower? I think if he picks a Burnham from North Dakota, I don't think that does any good. If he picks Rubio from Florida, that does him no good. I think he's, you know, known as a female. Tim Scott might help. I don't know, you know.
What about you, Jason?
I think Trump will narrowly win Michigan, 1 to 3 points, somewhere in there. And I do, when you look at, you know, I talked about kind of the fundamentals of the Democratic coalition, young voters, college kids, black voters, Arab voters. Those are 3 coalitions that were locked in with him in 2020, and they're not
no
now.
longer there.
And in the 4 years that he's been there, I think a lot of suburban voters that thought they were voting for the centrist Joe Biden who served in the U.S. Senate and got this ultra progressive woke guy that they're like, wait, this isn't who I thought. I think there's a little bit of I got sold a bill of goods on who this Joe Biden is.
He's got a record
and then
now.
What's happening in people's checkbooks, what's happening in providing for their families, paying for their kids' education, the quality of education. Michigan just dropped 5 points in the national rankings this year. So I just think it's a real uphill battle.
But listen, but the reality is, I think this is very early. People are concerned about a whole lot of things right now. They're concerned about prom, graduation, weddings, and everything else. We really won't know until near the end, like right before.
But none of those things do Democrats have an advantage on right now. That's why they
but I think at the end. But at the end of the day, I think the Democrats carry this state. At the end of the day, whether good, bad, or otherwise, Arab voters, they can sit at home, but they can't go to the Republican side. Black folks can be dissatisfied. Some of them gonna go vote for Trump, but at the end of the day.
But that's the key. They don't have to go to the Republicans.
There's a lot of Republicans. Listen, in Indiana, Nikki Haley got 128,000 votes, and she hasn't campaigned in 3, 4, 5 months. There's Republicans that are not going to go vote for Donald Trump. There's no question about it.
Here's the thing I think you got to think about. If you look at the, you know, as Mr. Roe was just saying a few minutes ago, you look at the numbers. And those who are going to vote for Trump are going.
That's a wish. That's a wish. Y'all wish that's gonna happen. That's just a wish.
But on the Democratic side,
it's not gonna happen.
On the Democratic side, you have more people that are not going to go back out of the coalitions that he just mentioned. And I'm not saying they're going to flop over, but if you lose a vote, you got to make it up somewhere else. It's all about who can get that vote out.
Well, Terry, thanks. Terry, thanks for coming, and Jason, thank you for bringing that crazy spin from the Republican side. Even though but anyway, Allan, Vanessa, Jason, Terry, Jim, Teresa, it's been a pleasure. Next week, same time,
same place.
All right.
Like,
Thanks for having me.
Wish you were here, Adolph.
Okay.
Drinks on you.
Drinks on.